Togo register is exhibited for everybody to see. So we should have brought the hard copy. I mean, that does not denounce the credibility of the register in any way. The other thing the EC did not try to raise credibility issues for the NPP case was to raise the issue of NPP not updating the EC on the work it had done on the Togo register. We said we had done 10% of the work, and that has produced an estimated 74,000 people on the register. So you said, why haven't we brought the remaining work now? We are saying even the 10% is enough to justify for a new register. So why should we waste our time and energy and resources to continue? Well, what we have found with the 10% is enough. We find this attempt puzzling. First of all, it should be recalled that this is not the first time EC has responded to this issue. The EC chair, indeed, almost gave the same response to NPP at the forum organized to collate views on the matter. The fact is, whether NPP found 1 million or 1,000 Togolese on the register, the case was the same. That the register had been compromised and that there was a need for a new one. It was precisely because of this reasoning that the NPP did not ask for a cleaning of the 76,000, but asked for a compilation of a totally new register. It is as if the NPP had asked for a cleaning of only the 76,000, that a case had been made for working for more names. But the evidence presented and the request made was totally not dependent on the magnitude of people found on the register. We are saying the 76,000 is enough to call for a new register. That's what we are saying. We don't say that we should find 1 million before you bring us a new register. So we stop. We got 10% and the figures are alarming. So get us a new register. Don't tell us we should go and do more work before you give us a new register. As expected, the fundamental reasons for the EC in denying the request on this evidence has nothing to do with the numbers, but the flawed general principle and understanding of the law. These have nothing to do with the magnitude. From the EC's response, these include 1. The NPP did not provide any proof of the citizenship status of these persons and did not show any proof that they were not entitled to be registered in Ghana. B. The registration of the registration on the register of another country under the current laws of Ghana does not take away one's own eligibility to be on Ghana's register. C. That Ghana's constitution permits dual nationality and admits the possibility of acquiring citizenship through many modes, such as naturalization, adoption, and marriage. It will therefore be improper and unconstitutional to simply remove names of persons on the register on the mere allegation that they appear on the register of another country without giving them the opportunity to provide proof of their citizenship. That seeking to remove names of persons who appear on the register of Togo, of Burkina Faso, of Cote d'Ivoire, in our view, will be an arbitrary and discriminatory application of the law. I'm quoting from the ECO. And that would mean the Commission should be required to obtain registers of all countries in the world and remove the names of persons who appear on such a register as well as Ghana's. I see. Can the EC tell us which of these reasons could have changed if the NPP had provided it with more persons on both Togo and Ghana's register? Now the reasons. The EC says that, and I quote, in examining the identity and status of the 76,000 Togolese alleged to be on Ghana's register, the EC found that they were all duly registered during mass registration period in 2012. Unquote. It goes on to argue that most of the voters were registered in districts in Volta and northern regions. Our conclusion from this examination is that the voters are duly qualified under the laws of Ghana to be on the register. You see what I said to you earlier on. So their internal audit processes says that these people were duly registered, so nothing could be done. Call in an external auditor to audit your final product and see whether it meets the standards. That's what we are saying. We find this statement to be both curious and needlessly bold. First, the EC is saying that it knows to be true that all the 76,000 are Togolese. We agree. Then it goes on to make an unsubstantiated bold claim that all 76,000 are duly certified Ghanaian citizens. We want the EC to come again on this by showing us the methods it used to establish that every one of the 76,000 is a Ghanaian national. How did they arrive? That they are on Ghana register, they are on Togolese register, but they are Ghanaian citizens. How they should tell us how they established that fact that they are Ghanaians. They didn't tell us. Again, for the EC to say that the NPP did not provide any proof of the citizenship status of those persons is mind-boggling. The NPP could not have provided any proof of citizenship status. It is the responsibility of the Electoral Commission, together with other state bodies, to cross-check and confirm the citizenship status of these persons who also appear in the register of Togo. What we expected and what should have been done was for the EC to have provided the documents and evidence of their citizenship status, which they provided before they were registered, and evidence and documents of their dual citizenship in the event that the EC claims that they are dual citizenship. The EC didn't provide a single document on a single person, unlike it sought to do on some other issues raised. In the other issues they raised, they provided us with documents. How come that you say the people are Ghanaians, Togolese Ghanaians on Ghana register, and you don't provide any evidence? So why should the EC not go through its database? You see, and I think in all these Togo, Ghana, dual citizenship, etc., there's one thing which, as we mentioned, that state bodies that should be called in. I think the Immigration Department of Ghana is the state authorized body to deal with dual citizenship. It's not the Electoral Commission. So if people nationality are dual and they can register in Ghana, it is for the Immigration Department to cross-check and tell us. It's not the, and we, if you don't know, have been to the Immigration Department before we came up with our press release in July and then August and then October. And there was not a single ECOWAS citizen from any of the ECOWAS countries who had registered as a dual citizen in this country. I'm saying that on a fact and on authority. Because you don't acquire the dual citizenship by word of mouth. You go through a process of filling a form, getting the approval, paying the necessary fees before you become a dual citizenship. And our checks indicated that nobody from the sub-region ECOWAS had come to do a dual citizenship, apply for any dual citizenship status. So what are they telling us? The EC, in another point, states that Ghana approves of dual citizenship and that it will be improper and unconstitutional to remove names of persons found on registers of other countries without providing them the opportunity to provide their citizenship. So the simple question is, which opportunity did the EC create for the persons in question to prove their citizenship? Is the EC now choosing a path of assumption rather than the facts and what it is? Why assume that they could be dual citizens, just like the NDC claim? It's an assumption. When you have not been able to provide any document on dual citizenship or failed to give them an opportunity of proof, what led the EC to this conclusion? You haven't contacted the Immigration Department. You haven't given us any document to that effect. Why are you saying they could be people of dual citizenship? Again, the EC says that removing the names of Togolese voters on our register will be discriminatory and arbitrary. This is another unfortunate excuse, and perhaps the worst excuse. The EC is mandated to ensure the sanctity of our voters' register. How they do that job is entirely for them to determine. If the EC thinks that by deleting names of Togolese on our register, it has to delete, and please listen to this. If the EC thinks that deleting the names of Togolese on our register, it has to delete names of Japanese on our register. That is entirely the decision of the EC. And how they go about it is also entirely in their domain, as long as it is done fairly and transparently. But this excuse is just like saying that because the police is unable to arrest a thief in one part of the country, the police will be discriminating and acting arbitrary if they arrest another person in another part of the country. So if there are other countries, Japan, whose names, Ghanaians' names are on the Japanese voters register and on Ghana register. So because of that, if we find out that Togolese are on our register, we shouldn't eliminate them. Is that what the EC is telling us? Ladies and gentlemen, it is not strange that despite the insistence of the NDC and the EC that all 76,000 persons whose identities are found on the register of the two countries are Ghanaians, not a single of the 76,000 has come forward to challenge the findings and defend their eligibility or say that they are not on the Togo register. Not one. Very strange. They should come and tell us that the name you put, that I, Peter McMenu, I am on the Ghana register and I'm on the Togo register. It is not true. It's not me. Has any one of the 76,000 come out to deny? It must also be pointed out that the Togolese media extensively published revelations of the 76,000 Togolese who had found themselves on the Ghana register, and no denial whatsoever came from any institution or person in Togo. This issue had come up in the media. There have been press conferences in Togo, and it's in the media there, and nobody in Togo, either Electoral Commission or other state institution in Togo, to deny it. Why are they doing this to this country? Why? The Togolese media have highlighted, and I think many of you must have seen this on the social media, the Togolese newspapers, etc., saying about people appearing on Ghana's voters register and then in the Ghana register. In Lomé, they have done this, and the media have published it. The radios have broadcasted them. How come that institutions in Togo and the individuals in Togo have not come out to denounce it? It must be pointed out that the Togolese media extensively published the revelation of the 76,000 Togolese who had found themselves on the Ghana register, and no denial whatsoever came from any institution or person in Togo. Let us say this again. We are exposing these facts not to target any particular group of people. We are only doing this to show how unscrupulous people in institutions of our state, we believe, a political party, undermined the sovereignty of Ghanaian people by introducing ineligible persons on our register to seek to manipulate elections. That is it. That's the agenda, to seek to manipulate elections. If we all agree that elections in Ghana are not ECOWAS elections, then we must all be active in making sure that only the people of Ghana can elect the president of Ghana. I think Ghana is not the only country in the ECOWAS who is conducting elections. Recently, Nigeria conducted elections. And Nigeria immigration went out to meet ECOWAS citizens in their country to warn them that we are brothers. You can stay here, but please don't take part in the election of our president. Those who took part in voter registration in Nigeria and our ECOWAS citizens were arrested. They were arrested by the Nigerian immigration. So we have an immigration department here. The Electoral Commission can fall on them to find out if dual citizenship have been undertaken, to find out if our ECOWAS brothers and sisters here have the local standing to take part in our elections. They don't. They don't. Nigeria, recently in Burkina Faso, recently in Mali, there are ECOWAS people living in all these countries, but they are not allowed to take part in their elections. We cherish our brotherhood, our brotherliness. They can live with us, but please don't come and take part in our elections. It's as simple as that. EC panel confirms register as bloated. As stated earlier, there is now no question that the current register is unacceptably bloated. Justice VCRAC crowd panel, which the EC itself commissioned, and which included a renowned statistician, in its analysis compared three key indicators. 1, estimated voter population. 2, registered voters and estimated deceased in the voters register from 2010 to 2016. Its findings are that the number of names on the voters register is unacceptably more than the total estimate of people eligible to register to vote in Ghana. So the EC panel itself is saying that statistically, the number of people on our register is unacceptably more than what it should be. I'm not saying this. It's coming from the panel's report. The panel was commissioned by the Electoral Commission. And when we presented our findings to the panel, as I said earlier, we said statistically the register is flawed. And they have said that. I'm not saying that. They have said that. So it means what we said is being admitted. Statistically, the register is flawed. 2, the panel report, using data from both the Electoral Commission and the Ghana Statistical Service, is of no doubt that both the 2012 register and the current updated register, that is the 2014 one, are bloated and flawed. It makes the case that even if Ghana was able to achieve the statistical improbability of 100% registration of eligible Ghanaians, the 2012 register should not have exceeded 13,650,237 names. This is what the EC panel report is saying. That even if we had gotten 100% registration, and you know in Ghana, voter registration is not compulsory. Ghana is not like Australia, where voter registration is compulsory. So we should not expect that the eligible registrants will all register. And I remember that at Alisa, Benefsi made a presentation and said that 97-point-something% of eligible voters on the roll is high. He said that, he admitted it. And the panel report is also saying the same thing. And we made that statistical inference in our presentation. This figure of 13,650,237 names is nearly 4% smaller than the voters list used in 2012 and does not take into account those who registered illegally using the NHIS card. Also, this was the register the EC itself admits now that the EFI software was not good enough to undertake any meaningful deduplication in 2012. Yes, that's 13,650,000 is 14% smaller than the current one, which is 14-point-something million. That's the meaning. So the EC is now admitting that the EFIS, that is automatic fingerprint inspection system technology they used in 2012, was not good enough to undertake any matching and deduplication. So they have now improved it. The panel was also unconvinced, among others, on the suggestion that there is no perfect register and that all registers since 1992 have been bloated, as claimed by Dr. Rekubobi. The panel observed that if it is true that since 1992 our register have continuously been bloated, 1996 bloated, 2000 bloated, 2004 bloated, 2008 bloated, 2012 bloated, as claimed by Dr. Rekubobi, then what that means is that it strengthens the case for looking at the accuracy of the register. So shall we continue to always be working with a bloated register over and over and over the years as a country? We don't improve on our systems. So I am saying that even based on that alone, it calls for a new register. Despite the EC's strong claim publicly that the panel rejected the call for a new register and suggestions that the panel had okayed the current register, The panel found that the register was flawed and could not be the basis for any election this year or in future. And the panel went on to suggest various ways for rectifying the situation. So if the EC comes out and issue a statement that the panel has okayed the register and that they didn't say there's the need for any new register, I found it baffling. Because the panel even went ahead to suggest various ways of rectifying the situation we find ourselves now. That is the flawed and bloated register. In the words of the panel's report, the other element of the bloated register is the situation with names of the deceased remaining on the register. This by far appears to be the most critical, both in terms of magnitude and cumulative effect, and implications for the credibility of the electoral process. A bloated register certainly has implications for the credibility of the electoral process. This is not NPP talking. This is the panel put together by the EC. The report makes the calculation and concludes, and I quote, further analysis of the data based on the reported number registered in 2012 and 2014 shows that as many as 584,892 estimated number of voter deaths would have occurred cumulatively by 2016 election and may well remain on the register of voters. That's close to 600,000 voters who would have been dead by 2016 elections, and their names are still on the register. What the panel did was to isolate first the number of population who are 18 years and above, reduce it by the number of foreigners, reduce it further by the estimated number of dead people who were eligible to vote, to come at the total estimate of people eligible to register. And mind you, not even Australia, where voting is compulsory, can boast of 100% voter registration. We agree with the panel's view that having nearly 600,000 people dead on the 2016 register is too wide a margin to entertain. This constitutes about 4% of eligible voters on the register, which again, in the words of the panel, and I quote, is too wide beyond tolerance limits, given that the presidential elections are won by a much narrow margin. They have expressed concern that the human factor, as they put it, can, for example, lead to multiple ballot papers given to a single voter by an unscrupulous election officer, or results change of paper either at the polling station or collation center. You see, when the register is bloated, it gives cause for an unscrupulous election officer to manipulate elections by giving many ballot papers to one person or changing figures at the collation center because the bloated figure still has room to accommodate. It's critical. We take a critical look at it if we want a credible elections. And that's what the panel is saying. The panel report makes it absolutely clear that the Electoral Commission does not have an effective system to restrain ineligible persons, such as minors, foreigners, fraudsters, from being registered. And even when this set of people get on, the EC does not have an effective means of getting rid of their names. Again, there is no effective means of removing names of dead people, as already admitted by the Electoral Commission. The panel's finding makes a strong case for what the report terms in quotes validation. The panel proposes that all eligible citizens who wish to remain on the register as registered voters must be made to report to a polling station to be validated by way of both facial image and finger biometrics. Those who do not show up to have their voter status validated, the report proposes, should not be maintained on the register. In the same way that an eligible voter who does not show up for registration will not have his or her name inserted into the voters list. So you see, the panel even went ahead to propose how we can clean or make the register credible. that we can use a validation system where instead of the existing system in the process, in the production of the register, that's the process, you can challenge or you can object to a name on the register. They are saying, now let the individuals ourselves go and validate ourselves on the register. That's what the panel is suggesting. Well, we see how Ghanaians will take that or not. But I think that is something worth considering. Let me quote straight from the report, pages 20 and 21. It seems that doing nothing more than the usual updating and waiting for the citizenry to pursue those who are illegally registered will engender the most bloated register by the mere fact that very few of the names of the dead are likely to be brought up. Generally, it might be difficult to justify leaving more than 500,000 invalid records in the register that we seek to characterize as credible. It may be expedient to try to find a middle ground to creating a new register through a complete new registration process. The Electoral Commission could consider extending the exhibition exercise to have voters confirm their names on the list and indication that they want to maintain their voter status. I'm still quoting from the panel's report, page 20 and 21. The benefits include signaling that the Electoral Commission is doing something about the known flaws in the register, that the more cost-effective approach is being used. In the same way that a new registration would have required citizens to physically appear at a registration center for registration, the cleaning will require that they appear to confirm. The major difference is that they spend less time because no forms will be filled. Rather than make others responsible for maintaining voters' name on the list, the individuals should themselves do that. That's the difference of what the panel is saying. Hitherto, or as in the law now, the CI 72, one, the citizenry and the registration officials can make a challenge or object to names on the register. Now, the panel suggestion that process is cumbersome and people don't do it. So now let the voters themselves. And in this case, what is interesting is that they say 600 or so thousand dead people, they cannot resurrect and come and validate themselves. So it's worth looking at it as a way of cleaning the register. Let the individuals come and validate themselves. Rather than make others responsible for maintaining voters' name on the list, the individuals themselves should do that. And I'm quoting from the panel. This also avoids the issue of people looking for documents to support any claim to get a record removed. This is largely what happens with the current system of hoping invalid names will be detected. It will be important to use this opportunity to call on all who are not eligible, those who are on the register but are not eligible, to voluntarily get their names off without facing any prosecution. Unquote. The final report of the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, for the NPP, though the attempt by the panel to find a middle way is laudable, the best and most viable option for dealing with the current incurably flawed register, as seems to have been accepted by the EC, the panel, and even the NDC, which not long ago claimed the register is perfect, is for the compilation of a new register with the necessary laws and system to ensure that the problems of the past do not afflict it in the same way, and for the EC to reaffirm its commitment to principles of fairness, transparency, and integrity. For us, this is the best and most credible way to go. It will give all those who registered using NHIS card an opportunity to register again, and legally this time, without the EC undertaking any extra work of first identifying and isolating them and informing them to come forward to regularize their voter status in a complex manner. It will help remove all the ghost names, and vigilant measures can be employed by both EC and party agents to stop non-nationals who got on the list from repeating that exercise. Finally, it will help in the critical area of bringing public confidence in the base document that will be used in this year's general election. I think you are all aware that public confidence, not only in the register, but in the entire Electoral Commission, has gone down considerably in this country. It has gone down from 67% to currently 47%. This is the findings of the CDD, Center for Democratic Development, CDD. Whereas in Nigeria, the confidence level of the Nigerians in their Electoral Commission has gone up from 64% to a whopping 85%. It is about time that Ghana's Electoral Commission find ways, like what we are saying, to improve the confidence level of Ghanaians in their administration and in their system of administering elections. However, we do not agree that the opinion of EC panel for a validation exercise will be an acceptable and second best approach to resolving the problem of ineligible voters on the Ghana's voters register. Let me also speak about the recent comments from the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. The first one is elitist register. Over the weekend, the Electoral Commission chair granted an interview to Joy FM, using it as an opportunity to respond to a number of issues. Among this, the EC chair stated that if the Commission listens to NPP, and the chairman is here, if they listen to you, it will end up with an elitist register. Elitist register. I see. We find that statement most unfortunate, and again, another indication of how the EC chair is quick to jump on the NDC propaganda wagon and be seen to be leading it. So if people are not qualified to be on the register, as stipulated in the Constitution, as stipulated in the CI 72, which is the laws governing election, and we are asking for the law and the Constitution to be obeyed, does it mean we are calling for an elitist register? I don't get it. I don't get it. So anybody can come and register, whether he is qualified or not, whether he is a citizen or not, whether he is a resident in the locality or not. Because if he is not resident, if he is not a citizen, if he has registered twice, we should allow him, because if we follow the law, then we are calling for an elitist register. Come on. The MPP's recommendation for a new register include many of the requirements that have been used in the past to compile voters' register. We find it therefore strange that the Electoral Commission boss will claim that our recommendations will lead to the creation of an elitist register. The MPP was the view that the Electoral Commission boss must desist from projecting herself as someone who speaks the same language with the ruling party, and rather speak as a neutral and fair manager of our electoral process. 2, the ongoing cleaning of the register. Again, the EC chair disclosed during the interview with Joy FM again that the EC was currently undertaking a cleaning of the register. She made a bold statement that we, the EC, and I quote, we, the EC, have identified in the Ashanti region alone 200,000 names which are on the multiple registration list, which we have to sit with the political parties and clear, unquote. This disclosure again is very strange. The Electoral Commission, in its response to the MPP, in page 23, stated that the EC had identified 150,000 names nationwide, countrywide, in the whole of Ghana. So how is it possible, therefore, for the EC to identify as much as 200,000 only in Ashanti? When you said the whole Ghana, the letter you wrote to us had 150,000 names that had been identified. I don't get it. I don't get it. The NPP hereby serves notice that it remains totally dissatisfied with the responses from the EC and reiterates its conviction that only a new credible voters register will guarantee us free, fair, transparent elections. And I may add accurate to what I have here. Because in the last election, various numbers were given on the register. One day it was 13 point something million, the next day it shifted to 14 million. So the register itself was not accurate. But electoral management bodies, one of the key characteristics of efficient electoral management bodies is to be accurate, because you are dealing with figures. The NPP is, by this response, calling for an immediate stop to all processes involved in the so-called internal cleaning of the register, until all parties can satisfy themselves of the modalities and the means by which the so-called internal cleaning is being done. The NPP hereby serves notice that it remains totally dissatisfied with the response from the EC and reiterates its conviction that only a new credible voters register will guarantee us a free, fair, transparent and open elections. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the NPP wishes to thank all its rank and file, the CPP, the PPP, the NDP, and all other political parties, including the one half of the Ghana Freedom Party that supported the case for a new register. You know, the Ghana Freedom Party, led by Madam Akua Adonko, presented two opinions. One reaffirmed NPP's position, and the other, that is calling for a new register, and the other called for a no new register. So we are thanking the other half of the Ghana Freedom Party that supported our claim for a new register. Isn't that funny? Our special gratitude goes to the civil society groups like Let My Vote Count, Let My Vote Count Alliance, the religious leadership like the Christian Council, the Catholic Bishops Conference, the Muslim community, the elder statesmen like President Jerry John Rawlings and President John Ajikum Kufuor, Nana Kunedo Ajiman Rawlings, and many ordinary people, both home and abroad, who prayed and worked hard to make our voices heard. We are grateful. But the battle is not over. But we are certainly making progress. But we also have a special message for President John Mahama and his NDC. And please listen to this message carefully. With or without a new register, your time is up. Change is coming. The Ghanaian people cannot wait to get rid of you with their votes. The Ghanaian people are not prepared to have this year's election stolen from them. The Ghanaian people are fed up with the 8 years of needless suffering under the NDC. Ghanaians have had enough of your incompetence, your corruption, and your deceit. They have risen to the challenge for change. Ordinary Ghanaians, students, teachers, nurses, bankers, carpenters, traders, builders, drivers, doctors, fishermen, hairdressers, tailors, farmers, and the nation of unemployed youth out there have all decided to take personal and collective ownership of the change that is coming. Ghanaians are ready to protect the ballot at the various polling stations, and we, the NPP, are steady and ready to lead the people on this charge for change. Whether register is new or old, the collective wisdom of all these political parties, religious bodies, former presidents, and ordinary Ghanaians should not be ignored by the Electoral Commission. The call for a new register is not a party political matter, no, but it is an issue in the supreme interest of Ghana and all Ghanaians. Let us arise for change. Inshallah, NPP shall win the 2016 election to save Ghana. Inshallah, let us all arise for change, and NPP shall win the 2016 elections to save Ghana. I thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Who was shouting amen? Where is he? He has run away. Okay, I believe that there are no questions, but this is an extensive presentation. You agree? There are questions? Okay, so please, you raise your hand, I call you, identify yourself, and then you ask for your clarification. Yes, sir. Can we have some quiet while this is going on? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In your submission, you touch on the position of the five-member panel. I think the fact that if you have to go by what it is, then you have to say that the voters register as a panel. And the EC's position is the panel did not call for but rather call the claim of the what you just did. Are you saying EC's position might be different from that of the panel? That's the question. Now, number two. Okay, talking about the consultants that was contracted by the EC. Was the contractor contracted to audit the whole register or to look into the claims of the NPP as presented through the petition? Now, I've been to the press conference addressed by yourself, September, and sometimes the Lema and you use the UNDP report that give a current as part of the integrity of the IT system that EC is using is concerned. Now, I'm also informed that this contractor that the party says it doesn't move was actually brought in by the UNDP. Are you aware of them?
So
how do you know these two positions?
Okay. Let me start from the second one. The UNDP consultants who gave the Diamond report, they came here. They met stakeholders. I led the NPP team that they interrogated. And that's how consultancy is supposed to work. Let me boast a little bit. I'm also an international consultant. Yes. And when I go to other countries, I meet the stakeholders on the subject matter. I don't just use my own this thing because I've been contracted by Mr. A or B. So the UNDP consultant, the first one, who made that Diamond report, they met us, they met NDC, they met other stakeholders, they met the security services. I mean, the media. I don't know whether they came to you. But the second consultant, who is supposed to audit or whatever, we don't know him, we don't know his terms of reference, we don't know what report they have given. They never met us. That's the difference. Now, on the first question, which is the EC's position, and the EC, I think, is saying that the panel recommended that no name register. But the panel said that the register is bloated. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Why didn't they say that in their report? That the panel said the register is bloated, and the panel suggested that we use a validation process to clean the register. Because certainly people who are there, who are close to 600,000 on the register, cannot rise up to come and validate themselves. So the panel chose the middle ground, which is less costly, less time consuming, for us to clean the register. Why is it that the EC did not mention that? The EC is only telling Ghanaians that no, they say no new register. But apparently that's not what they said. Okay? All right.
All right. Just a follow-up. So to the NPP, the two positions are different. We see on the EC and then the panel.
Yes, exactly.
Are you hurt? Oh, is your name? Is it a name?
Are you asking questions or you just moderate the program?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Charles Techibo, Director of the show. Mr. Chairman, to what end did you hold this press conference? I mean, what do you intend to achieve by stating this position? I'm asking you this question in view of the fact that you rarely admit that whether or not there is a new register, you are not doing the election. And again, the EC has also stated that they are not going to provide a new register.
Mr. Techi, I said in the statement I just read that some election officials use the bloated register to manipulate the elections. Like, and I cited the example of tearing more than one ballot paper for a particular person or adding up certain figures during collation. And we are saying that we are calling on all Ghanaians and NPP members in particular to be vigilant against these things. That's what is going to bring us the victory.